Like Purdue, it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an episode of Backyard Banter. Johnny, James, Tanner, and Mayo. When Mayo's on the pod, you know we're talking some NBA. We're going to revisit our predictions that we made, 30 episodes ago now, at the beginning of the NBA season, and we're going to get right into it. I'm going to get the elephant out of the room early. I had the Lakers being the 1 seed in the West, and looking back, the only jarring one that I had, this was my mindset. At the time, I thought it was a good mindset. After the post-All-Star break for the Lakers last year, post-trade deadline for the Lakers last year, once they got their new team, they were a top team in the West, and they were a top defensive team in the West. And then they took that momentum and went all the way from the play-in to the Western Conference Finals. And I thought, full year of that team, they could very well be the 1 seed. And I ended up being 8 seeds off.
That's all right.
But only 9 games off.
They're in a play-in.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good point.
This is how wild the West is. The 6 seed in the West is closer to the 1 seed than Cleveland, who's a 2 seed, is to Boston in the East. So, that's kind of... something there. I don't think any of us were very high on Minnesota in the preseason. But we got the OKC one, right? We all had OKC as a top 4 seed. Them and Minnesota are currently tied for the West spot. I mean, Mayo, what was the one prediction that you 100% got right and one that you were like, oh, that's a little off?
Yeah, my Brooklyn Nets pick was off.
Yeah.
I was high on the Brooklyn Nets.
I forgot you said that. That's all right.
Well, and I think Johnny said something in that podcast that was a good point, is that teams who don't have a guy typically don't do that good. Yeah. But I thought that they could win by committee. I thought they had a lot of really good role players, and they gave me the vibe of that Nets team from the past with D'Angelo Russell that went to the playoffs and made minor noise. So I thought they would be pretty good, but it didn't really work out, so that was a little disappointing. My Philly pick was pretty spot on, if I remember correctly. I didn't have them too high or too low. I think I had them kind of in the right spot. And I think the James Harden trade, looking back on it, worked out beautifully for both teams. I mean, that's something that I'll say I got wrong again, is that I would have never expected the Clippers to be as good as they've been. I thought they were going to be a play-in team, but I think that... Philly getting away from him was really good for their team, having Maxey elevate his role, and then just the Clippers have been doing their thing.
All-star Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Nets, that they fired Jacques Vaughn. You guys know who replaced him?
I don't.
The UConn head coach that won the 2014 national championship, Kevin Ollie.
Really?
So, just a blast from the past.
Shout out to him, yeah.
Tisa, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think I was right on the Sixers. I had them 5th in the East, I believe, and they're currently 5th in the East. Just wasn't a believer in them for whatever reason. Obviously, and B, getting hurt kind of makes me look smart.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought I was pretty spot on the East. I think I had the Pacers 6. I think I had the Cavs and Knicks maybe at the 3 and 4, and the Bucks Celtics 1, 2. So I think I pretty much nailed the East. On the other side, though, I did terrible. So the Western Conference, I did not do good on for my predictions. Had the Suns as the 1 seed.
Yeah.
I believe I had the Warriors in my top 6 and the Mavs at 3, so just not good over there.
Yeah, that was my biggest issue. It's the Warriors, and even when we had Alex Chasen on, I was still like, hey man, you never know, they could maybe make a run, but the Warriors are done for. So that's the thing with the West being how close it is. You just got to get one of these teams to get hot, and with a guy like Curry on their team who could literally give you 40 any given night. He can keep him in all these games. And just at the end of the day, it comes down to maybe some role guys making some big shots or making some big stops or whatever. But I tell you what, I said it speaking of the Alex Chasen podcast, I said, there's no way the NBA champion's not coming out of the East. And now it's the West, man, is playing much better ball than maybe I realized back a couple weeks ago. But like Johnny said, Boston's kind of just put themselves ahead of this pack in the East, and you look at the 2 teams following them, it's Cleveland, okay, wow, I didn't expect them to be right there. Milwaukee's more of a, what's going on there? It's you're not playing well. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They dropped however many games in a row, I don't remember. But my biggest mistake was probably Golden State. I would say the best pick was all of our picks with the Thunder. I had the Kings high. They're not terrible. Again, it's just that West. It's a tough division, tough conference to pick, just with how everyone's so tight. And who knows? Some of us could be so right in a month because of how the West can flip. Again, I'm not super keen on the top 2 teams in the West being consistent the entire season, but we'll see. I think the Suns, we were all pretty high on. They're going to come back. They're sitting at the 5 right now, if I'm not mistaken, Johnny, and they're a good ball club that can come back and win some games.
Yeah, this is how tight the West is. Phoenix was sitting at 8 when they played the Lakers, either early last week or last week. And they won 1 game, and they moved up to the 6.
That's crazy.
And then another team lost, and now they're the 5.
Yeah.
That's how close and compact that is. Yeah, to your Golden State and Lakers point, the teams that are above them in a playoff series, in a 7-game series, I mean, I would be very hard-pressed to take Minnesota, OKC, New Orleans, or Sacramento over them in a 7-game series. We saw the Sacramento one last year. Golden State was able to win that one in 7, and that Golden State team is worse this year, but again, I think one of those teams could make kind of a sneaky run like the Lakers did last year. It's just when you get into that kind of season, the rotation shrinks and your best players continue to elevate.
Yep.
Anthony Edwards is that guy. He can do it. Shea can do it. He's that guy. And then Denver has been really good when they come out of the All-Star break. I don't think they've lost in 3 games. Joker has had a triple-double in every single one of those 3 games, so he's kind of flexing his dominance there. And I've also been surprised with Dallas. Dallas was really bad for a while at the beginning of the year. They're sitting at the 8 seed right now. Luka and Kyrie, I think, maybe the best 1-2 duo, and the fact that Kyrie may be one of the best 2s in NBA history. He tried his thing being the one in Boston, didn't work out. In Cleveland, he was the best number 2. Yeah. And when the Nets were really good, when he was there, he was the best number 2. And if that Nets team, if he didn't get hurt, they would have beat the Bucks and probably won the finals that year.
Yeah.
So he's kind of back in his familiar role. PJ Washington has fit in there better than Grant Williams. It's been a small sample size. Derek Lively's been really good for the rookie out of Duke. So yeah, watch out for Dallas. They're sitting at the 8 seed right now, but again, they're in that log jam from 5 to 8. That's only separated by half a game.
Yeah.
So this time next week, they could be the 5 seed.
Yeah, I'll say one thing on that. I think how close the West is, and just the league in general, besides Boston, is kind of a testament to how much talent there is. Mm-hmm. Like, we saw last year in the playoffs, Miami Heat, they were an 8 seed. They went to the finals. Lakers, a 7 seed, went to the Western Conference Finals. I think we're going to start to see the seeding be less important as the NBA progresses. Because back when we were younger, and even just a couple of years ago, no one was making a conference finals outside of the 1 and 2 seeds. I mean, maybe a 3 seed, like once in a blue moon. But now I think it's a little more of a March Madness vibe where there's just so much talent in the league. Like, anyone can beat anyone,
just
even in a 7-game series. Even if you're a 9-10 seed, like
just get in.
Like if you're the Bulls, like you could win a championship this year. I don't know.
Probably not. I'm not seeing red.
I always see red.
You need a very common factor between those teams, though, is you need a guy, right?
Yeah.
The Heat had a guy. Heat had Jimmy Butler. The Lakers, you had 2 guys with LeBron and AD. It's back to your point on that. They're the lowest seed to ever win a championship was the Rockets back in their 2nd championship after Jordan left. I believe they're a 6 seed. Yeah. And that never happens. I think there's only been 2 times where an 8 seed made the finals last year, and then in '99 when the Knicks went and they got boat raced by the Spurs.
Yeah.
But it's more common now. Within the last 3 years, we've seen more 4 through 8 seeds make runs. Even that Golden State team in 2022 that won the championship, they weren't a 1 seed.
Yeah.
And it's, like you said, a testament of the league. Back to the East for me real quick. I was right on Cleveland. I had them as a top 4 seed. And again, they're it's not as much of a long jam, but they're only half game up on Milwaukee, who's right there too, who's played better out of the break. And I was lower on the Knicks. And now with Julius Randle being out with his shoulder, we don't know how long that is. They could really keep falling. But I mean, all of our teams are in the picture. Really, right next to each other. It goes Indy, Orlando, Chicago.
The picture must be a big picture.
Good year for you guys.
We got the easiest remaining schedule and the most off days left. So,
but yeah, they lose to the Raptors last night at home.
Yeah,
well, they won.
It was off a back-to-back.
They won 3 in a row before that. Just came off.
I hate watching Scotty Barnes. I hate
He
watching
had a triple-double last
He
night.
did. And I hate watching Scotty
and I
Barnes.
sat out there and watched the entire game last night.
I'm not a big
Dude,
Scott.
Scotty Barnes is special. He's good.
He sure is special. Yeah. That is for sure. I want to talk about the East real quick, and I don't know, maybe we'll get into our updated playoff prediction or whatever, but this is the year for Boston, man. Like, if it doesn't look like they're the most dominant team in the NBA, then I don't know what you guys have been watching, because they are by far the most consistent team out there. And it's not a team that you'd be surprised if they won. When you look at the West, again, I'll say it, Minnesota and OKC, I'm still not there with them, and they're the 1-2.
If they won a championship, I would be surprised.
I would be surprised. But if Boston goes and wins a championship, it's like, all right, yeah, that's the roster to do it. So shout out to Boston, man, because I was more high on Milwaukee, and I'm not saying they can't do it. They have special on their team. They have two of the most special guys I've ever watched play basketball, with Damian Lillard and Giannis. So shout out to them. Hopefully they get back on track. But yeah, the East, I feel like, will tighten up. But at the same time, Boston's so good that they just might run away with this thing, and they might not be, they might not be able to be catched. So we'll see. That's my just little take on Boston, man. I think we're all pretty high on them, but I love Boston this year.
Best record in the league by 5 games.
Yeah.
All right, my current finals prediction. First, out of the West, you guys always like to talk about the Thunder and Timberwolves not being for real, and that makes me really mad. Because clearly, if the Western Conference is this tough and so tough, and they're the number 1 and 2 seeds respectively, they're doing something right. So for me, I'm picking the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards might be the best athlete on the world right now. Karl Anthony Towns is having the best year of his career. And if the Western Conference is so tough and they're doing so well, then they must be pretty good. So that's the way I look at it. Give me the Timberwolves, and they're going to lose to the Celtics in the finals.
Okay. I like your point on the Timberwolves. I think Anthony Edwards is great. I think he's one of those players that is like Jordan-esque. Like when you watch him play, his demeanor, like you see a little bit of that. So I respect that, but I'm going to go different. First, in the East, I have the Celtics. I think it's time for them to get over the hump. And when you see a team that's been in the conference finals since Jason Tatum was literally 19, at some point they're going to do it.
Yep.
And I think they're going to meet the Nuggets there, and I have the Celtics finally winning. I think, like I said earlier, I think seeding is going to become less and less important, but that doesn't mean that longevity won't be important. You typically see the same teams make it far and continue to progress, like the Heat. They've been to the finals multiple times. The Lakers, you have teams like the Celtics, Denver. It's the same teams that keep making it far, and I think it goes in steps, and that's why I think the Thunder and the T-Wolves aren't going to jump from making the playoffs for the first time to going to the finals. Absolutely. I think they need to make the playoffs and maybe win a series, then go to a conference finals, then go to the finals. So I got Nuggets, Celtics in 7.
Unfortunately, me and Mayo have the exact same the pick, which that's just great minds thinking alike. I'll tell you what, back on Tanner's comment, with the West being so good, it's one of those years where I don't see a 1 or a 2 making it out of the West. The reason I say that is because exactly like Mayo was trying to get, like, these teams, just because they're the 1 or the 2 does not mean that they're like that much better than the other teams in the West. And when you look at Denver, man, although they're sitting at the 3, they are one of the teams that just flies under the radar right now because everyone just expects Joker to go out there and get a triple-double. Like, what they do is special in Denver, and I really think come playoff time, that's going to matter a whole ton. That's why I have Denver coming out of the West, and then East, I've already said it before, Boston's legit. I actually have Boston in 5, no matter who they play. I think Boston's the best team in the NBA, so I have Boston, Denver, finals in 5. We'll see.
Yeah, we've seen it a million times. The playoffs are so much different than the regular season. Anyone can win the regular season. You could have nights where you're playing against Max Christie, for example, in the regular season. No offense to him, he's just not a very good NBA player.
He's a dog though.
Yeah. Shout out Max Christie, Michigan State legend. But then you can have times in the playoffs, like I said before, your rotation shrinks. Nickeil Alexander-Walker minutes don't matter as much as they do in the regular season. He's been really good this year for Minnesota. It's who has the best top 5 to 6 players. Boston has the best top 5 players in the league. They have the best starting 5. Adding Porzingis trading away Marcus Smart. Shout out Brad Stevens, wheeling and dealing, all that stuff. I think the Western Conference Finals, unless they play each other earlier, it's going to be Denver and the Clippers. Big wings win in the NBA unless you have a dominant center, either Jokic or Embiid. You need that level center, or else look around. It's all big league wings. It's LeBron. It's Tatum. I'd even put Giannis in that category. Kawhi, Paul George, Anthony Edwards is a smaller but still a wing. That's kind of the era we're in the NBA. So I'm gonna have a Denver and Clippers Western Conference Final. I'm gonna have the Clippers making the finals. I said it when Alex Jason was on the podcast that they'd make the finals, but I don't want to pick Boston just because everyone has. But I mean, I'm gonna do it just because I don't think anyone has a better 6 players than them to go into the playoffs where everything is shortened, everything is tight. A lot of stuff still concerns me with the Celtics, especially their late game execution in the playoffs. I feel like sometimes they get too ISO heavy, which I get it. It's the NBA now. You got to search out the worst matchup or the best matchup for you and attack it. But at times I felt like Tatum last year settled a lot when he got that matchup, a lot of step back threes, kind of hero ball threes. But I'm going to just hope that they've learned from it. They literally have everything. They have the star power. They have the veteran presence with Al Horford. But Joe Mazzulla, Joe Mazzulla as a coach also scares me. I think he holds them back at times, especially last year in the playoffs. But yeah, I think Boston will take down the Clippers in 6.
Yeah, love it. I think we're all super high in Boston. We'll see. The West, we could all be wrong.
They're going to lose to the Heat.
They're
going to lose to the Heat.
I think the East will be
the Pacers. Yeah.
I think the East will be much more chalk than the West. Like I think we will see like a 1 and a 3 in the Eastern Conference Finals, depending on where Milwaukee
100%.
ends up, or what's going on with Cleveland, or if Julius Randle can get back, or depending on Embiid's knee status when he can get back. But like we said, on these episodes were a lot shorter episodes. So that's all we got for the day. Check us out on all of our socials. We're gonna post another grid today. We posted one earlier this week. Another clip or another grid will come out either today or tomorrow. So yeah, follow, subscribe, send us